welcome to the SAP HR Mavericks podcast, the podcast where the future of human resources meets the Mavericks who make it happen. I'm your host, Silvia Moreno, and today we are diving into AI and HR, how to navigate the revolution and distinguish between hope and help. Today, I'm with Laurijssen, our HR evangelist. Hi, Jan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. And of course, with Marson, an accomplished HR technology executive and solution architect, as you know, because we have had some podcasts previously. So welcome, Luke.
Welcome. It's good to be back recording another episode.
Thank you. Okay, let's deep dive on the topic. Jan, would you like to introduce us to the subject?
Yeah, it's a big subject, and I'd like to take some angles here. First of all, yes, we can talk about AI in the HR processes. Obviously, HR is going to use and be affected by AI in their processes, from recruitment, from hire to retire, let's say, from recruitment over reward. Also over talent management. This is going to affect all the HR processes involved. It's going to help us, obviously, with matching in recruitment. It's going to help us with nudging, for instance, when people are looking for a new job. It will tell you, Silvia, people of your age, your tenure, with what you've been doing are likely to look for another job. Here is one. Would you think this would be something nice? So technology is going to help us to do a lot of things, especially there. The only thing that I firmly convinced of is that we should not only focus on efficiency. There's a huge opportunity also here to use technology to improve employee experience. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there are many people that actually like to talk to chatbots. But if you look at the evolution and what agents can do at the moment, and if you would be able to talk to an agent that is human-like on your phone, asking your questions about your absenteeism or where you have to log to get your holidays booked and so on, they actually talk back. That would be, I think, a great thing to move into. It will, of course, help us also to build on decision-making. If we can use analytics and if we can use technology like AI, we can build reports and ask the tool to build us a report on the absenteeism in Division X, let's say, to use data from the last 5 years to draw conclusions from that and possibly even do some recommendations on how to move forward, helping the HRBP to be more efficient, but of course more added value towards the business, because that's part of the job that he or she is not supposed to do anymore, and she can jump into her expert and advisory role. So I think at the heart of HR, these are the main things that are at play. Another thing that we might talk about also is that there's a huge opportunity for HR to be a big player in the changing world of work. AI is changing the work in the workplace for the blue collar and the white collar worker, and HR might play a big role in finding out how we can claim human centricity in a workplace that has been dominated by artificial intelligence.
And how do you see that happening today? Because you just talk about that's kind of the vision or where the way that you think things might develop. How do you think that HR representatives and HR directors are reacting today?
I think for the moment, this is the Mavericks podcast. I think they're slow. Mm-hmm. If we look also at the research that we do every year at the HR and Payroll Pulse across Europe, AI is not really a top priority for HR people. It's only in the priority list for about 1/3 of the surveyed HR directors across Europe. Although it is there. I mean, it's already there, like the OECD already says. For better or for worse, AI in the workplace, it's there. Deal with it.
Yeah, people are using that constantly. Employees use ChatGPT on a daily basis.
Yes, quite a large number of people, and if I'm not mistaken, 40% of people are using AI to their own advantage in the workplace without telling their employer. So there is this huge opportunity to actually embrace this, to work with it for the betterment of the business, but also the people. But HR is slow. They're not picking up. And I think a lot of the things has to do with the fact that they're just not knowledgeable enough. When I asked the question when I'm around in Europe, said, does HR love AI? And you ask people to raise their hands, it's about 1/3 of the people that raise their hands. And they say, okay, does that mean then that the rest of the room doesn't love AI? And say, no, that's not the case. We just are not knowledgeable enough about it. We don't know enough.
So, doesn't employees using AI in stealth, let's call it, not informing their employers, doesn't that create a risk?
Yeah, definitely. That does create a risk. And I think a lot of the things, and there is European legislation, also DORA and others, there is the AI Act that's gone into effect. It's in the interest of both the employer and the employee that we try to cover this and try to support everybody with tools that are secure and that actually use the data that can be used. Because otherwise we're just dumping them anywhere. And I think that there also, in terms of employees, it can do a lot of things. But using free software or free AI, well, that is a risk for the data, especially all the data and the people data that we should be protecting according to the AI Act that, by the way, has gone into effect February 2nd. Not many people know this, that you should be protecting your personnel data, that you should have a policy that informs people what AI does in your company, and that you should also inform/train all your employees in being able to use those tools in a sensible and responsible way.
You should or you must. I mean, there is a law. Okay. It's not optional.
The AI Act is a directive from the European Union, which all the European countries agree to implement. So there might be some changes still to how each country is going to do it, but it's gone into effect February 2nd. So yes, we should comply.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's useful because if employees are using ChatGPT or other AI tools out there for business work, aren't they then training those large language models on their sensitive data?
Question, Luke. So there's not much to say that yes. And I think that publicly available AI tools are there to train the models. And it's not necessarily in the best interest of that particular person or necessarily in the interest of the certainly their employer that these data are being used, because once they're gone, they're gone. And they can take all shapes and forms afterwards. So definitely not. So advice for all people using these kind of tools, please use the tools that your employer offers you that are thought about, that are secure and are safe to work with. Also think in terms of if you use AI to create data and it creates your data, companies, I can imagine, should also decide whether these data that have been generated by the artificial intelligence should be stored or not. And more people and more security people are saying we should not store them because they're going to lead their own lives again. So, yes, big things to think about. But that's just generative AI. Coming back to the point that we made before and that you asked me about, Silvia, there is a huge role not only for security to make sure that we can operate in a secure way, but there's also a huge role for HR to create awareness to people to what it is, what it does, how it can change their jobs, how they can use it in a better way, in a safe way, what it's going to do for the betterment of the job, the quality of the job. And that's also where I think HR is waiting. Think also about AI literacy. Shouldn't we invest, and yes, we should, because there will be AI, shouldn't HR offer courses, sessions, coaching, whatever, to not just ask people to do it, but to help them do it and to get the AI literacy that we need to be able to do the job that we're having tomorrow.
But isn't this a partnership with IT as well?
Oh yeah, we just mentioned what you started about security. And I pulled in HR, but yes, this is definitely also an IT question in general in the whole stack that you're integrating or that you're offering people to use, HR people and or all the other people in your organization. These are definitely considerations that that have to be taken there at the beginning of implementation to think about what is it that we want to do with it. That may differ across companies, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to get off topic, but there has always been a partnership and also a difficult relationship between HR and IT in many cases, right? Also with the implementation of HR tools and things like that. And now it puts into place that HR still needs to rely on IT and vice versa, because there is a technology component, but also the human component.
Yeah, so when I talk about this, I always say the future of HR will be super digital and super human at the same time.
Yeah.
So yes, we're going to have to relate with our IT colleagues, with security colleagues, and so on. What has changed, however, I think, as before, when we went for technology implementation, we trained the people, and we assumed that they were able to use tools. Now we're implementing tools that are interacting with us right away and poses entirely new questions on how that mutual human AI interaction is going to evolve. We don't know. So I think there is a big question to answer or to think about from both IT security and HR perspective. What do we expect these technologies to do? Do we expect them to do what they did before? People will adopt the technology, or is it going to create something new? I personally believe it's going to create something new.
Yeah.
Because both human and artificial intelligence interact, they will be learning from each other. So adoption is going to get an entirely new meaning in this workplace. And that's why you're absolutely right. HR and IT should work closely together, especially to where these things come together, and that is in the daily works in the workplace.
Absolutely. Do you feel fear in the HR side of things, or in general, about this uncertainty? We don't know how it's going to develop, what's going to happen. Because at the beginning, I do remember a sense of fear overall. How did you think?
I think that, like I said before, I think that in the HR community, a number of people are doubtful. I'm not saying they're fearful; they're doubtful because they don't know exactly what it's going to do. But it is bringing about another topic that I'm talking about quite a lot lately, and that is trust in the workplace. So how are we going to make sure that HR people can assure our employees that they can trust the tools that they are working with? And at the same time, that we make them aware that they should distrust them as well and check what is happening, whatever it generates.
Yeah.
Because it is not flawless so far.
No. And it will never be.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. That's the thing. We don't know. And the question is, are there people who would like it to be flawless and replace it all? I don't know. But this is definitely an important topic to think about. If AI is there, we should be able to use explainable AI. We should be able to explain to people what it does, how it works. We probably should also invest very much in participation of the people in the implementation process. So take people by the hand and do it together with IT and HR to it. And three, we should invest also in the learning process and the monitoring of the learning process, how people are doing in the workplace. Because some people may be lagging, some people may take a step forward. This is going to be a big thing. And hence, trust, building trust in the workplace, and at the same time, create enough skeptic minds to not accept anything the artificial intelligence generates. We're going to be a huge stage. Also, what Professor Dennett, an American philosopher, once said when he was asked, Professor Dennett, do you fear artificial intelligence? And he said, no, not at all, but I'm very afraid of artificial stupidity. Well, that's a great quote. Well, really interesting, Jan. Thanks for all the insights. I would like now to maybe try to make the link towards technology, like a specific technology. And since this is an SAP podcast, of course, we need to talk about success factors in particular. So, Luke, what's your take on this? What is SAP doing in terms of AI? What can you give us an update on the latest trends, let's say, of AI related to success factors?
Yeah, sure. So taking a step back from success factors within SAP, overall SAP have a strategy of strong governance. They have their own AI board. So compliance is a big part of that. They don't want to have technology that makes decisions on behalf of people. So it's always technology that will allow a human to make a decision. It will provide data for a human to make a decision, but it won't make a decision on behalf of a human. And I think, and yeah, you'll probably agree that's an important part of
Yeah, that's a very important piece of the technology puzzle to make sure that, like we said, we can be super digital, super human at the same time. It does raise an interesting question. How will the person be able to judge the data provided by the AI if he or she didn't use the data or manipulate the data themselves? But at the same time, I think it's cool that we are focusing on human decision-making, supporting human decision-making, better decision.
And that raises a valuable point that we come across in HR technology a lot, and that's data quality. Garbage in, garbage out
Yes.
has a much more significant relevance with AI.
Yes.
Because if you're using AI to give you insights that you're making decisions on, if the data that the AI is creating the insights from is not accurate,
Yes.
yeah, then you're just creating an even worse situation.
Yes, because then if the data are not right, if the quality is not right, you're actually starting from a biased data set at the beginning, or a wrong data set for that. So excuse me, whatever the AI is going to do it afterwards, it's going to be incorrect.
Yeah. And that's something which is a theme that we talk about constantly when we're talking about tips and tricks for implementation and those sort of things, is that customers need to pay attention to their data.
Yeah.
It impacts all sorts of processes, not just AI, but it is quite critical in AI.
Yeah. And also brings about discussion about something that we've lost maybe over the last couple of years because AI has been so prominent. That's the whole discussion about people analytics, how to get your people data right so that you can also make the right reports analyses on those. And that is the big thing. So from my point of view, I don't know how you look at this, Luke, but I think AI and people analytics in the HR space and in the HR technology space are two hands that need to work closely together, because otherwise it's going to, like you said, bullshit in is bullshit out.
Yep, absolutely. And SAP have recently announced their SAP Business Data Cloud, and that's got a lot of AI capabilities in it. Now that's going to help with this analytics and reporting. But the bottom line is still, I think, fundamentally that the data has to be right to get the benefits of analytics, reporting, AI, anything that you do with a HR system. And actually, most systems rely on having solid, accurate, clean data underneath.
This is definitely one of the skills or one of the roles that HR is going to need to adopt within their future-proof organization. Those are roles related to people that actually can work with data, can manipulate data, or at least are analytics interpreters that know what's going on with the data, that can use the data. And so far, if you look at it, beyond a couple of really big organizations that have their own people analytics team, most of the HR organizations have not such person within their own team. They might have the opportunity to borrow someone from time to time from the finance department, but this is something where I think there should be really investment in HR, not only in finding those people, but retraining all people in HR, reskilling them to be able to work with this. So we can actually support evidence-based decision-making, but this requires basic knowledge about how data are structured, where they are coming from, how they are manipulated, what kind of analyses we can do, what are the conclusions that we can draw from them. So that is a very important component, I think, in terms of learning and HR skills up in the beginning.
Yeah, in reality, AI is accelerating the capabilities that we need around data and data decision making in HR, right? Because we have been talking about it for years, but now we actually have to do it. We need to get our data right.
We need to get
it's not a choice anymore.
You don't have a choice anymore, especially also if we're going to run artificial intelligence on it. We also have to make sure that human intelligence is on board to understand what the artificial intelligence did. So yes, we can speed up the process, but still we need to be very careful with what we do. But it do pretty amazing things, I think, for the HR organization, in bringing together information to build, like I said, evidence-based decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, from an SAP perspective, we used to have well, the reporting model, I don't remember anymore how it was called now. The SAP is
SAP Analytics Cloud.
Yes, correct. Thank you. So how is that different from the model that you have just described that has AI on it?
So the SAP Analytics Cloud has been SAP's reporting solution for the last few years. And it's a subset of that capability is embedded in SuccessFactors. The new SAP Business Data Cloud, it comes with a number of tools. It comes as a BW partner solution called Databricks, data lakes, and many other tools too. And hopefully, if what they say is correct, it will improve and increase the analytics and reporting capabilities that will be available to customers. So it should go beyond what SAP Analytics Cloud offered originally.
Makes sense, yeah.
So I guess as we are heading towards the end of the podcast, I think I might cover a couple of the AI capabilities in SuccessFactors just to give the audience a flavor of the different types of tools. Because I think a lot of the audience will be familiar with generative AI and maybe large language models that drive them. And of course, SAP has some of this in the solution. They have AI-assisted writing, text analyzers, translations. So it can read comments made, maybe in a performance form or something like that, and check the language is compliant. They're using gender-neutral language, not using maybe abrasive or aggressive language, things like that. Some of the other capabilities they have is a chatbot, of course, SAP Joule, so you can ask about your pay slip, what's your vacation balance, things like that. There's applicant screening capabilities, interview question generation. And then one of the interesting things is skill inference technology. So being able to look in the system and generate skills based on different things within the system, or be able to find and assign skills to, say, job assignments or things like that. So quite a range of different applications of AI there. And I don't think it's the full range at all. I think there's probably a lot more interesting capabilities that will come in the future. But those ones certainly, I think, offer a lot of value and already have come rather quickly into the SAP SuccessFactors HCM suite.
Very nice that you also close up with the skills debate. Maybe from my point also to close up, I think it's one of the most interesting things or paradoxes in this landscape where AI is changing work and the workplace and HR, is that paradoxically, the most questions that we have about future skills are not technology questions, but are talent management questions. How will we be able to actually raise enough awareness and energy for people to pick up these new tools? And that's going to be a big thing.
Valid point. Maybe we could do a podcast around that next time. Okay, well, many thanks for your contributions, Luca and Jan. It was great having you here. Good conversation. So thanks again for joining. And let's do a podcast around the skills and talent again.
Definitely.
So thanks. Thank you. Bye-bye.
SD Works.